it should be obvious that the only reason the Supreme Court is hearing these cases, the only reason politicians have come out in support of our rights, is the result of decades of tireless activism and organizing on behalf of our community. I want to say that the fight for marriage equality matters. It's outrageous that in 2013, when the majority of people in this country support full equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people, that we are still forced into a status of second-class citizenship. It is outrageous that same-sex couples are denied access to the thousands of benefits that are granted to straight couples. But it's also true that the fight for full equality and social justice for LGBT people expands well beyond marriage. No matter what the outcome of the Supreme Court ruling, the struggle continues, and we have a long, difficult road ahead of us. We need to keep in mind that the struggle for full justice and equality extends well beyond marriage. And that's because as long as in 29 states it is legal to fire or hire or not hire somebody because of their perceived sexual or known sexual orientation, as long as in 37 states it is completely legal to fire or not hire somebody because of their perceived or known gender identity or expression, as long as 37 states maintain constitutional amendments banning same-sex marriage, we are not equal. As long as lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people lack access to safe, free, and accepting housing and health care, we are not equal. As long as there is an epidemic of LGBTQ, youth homelessness, and suicide, we are not equal. That's right. It is a crime. It is a crime that in the richest country in the world, we push thousands of queer youth onto the streets. It's a crime that we are shutting down schools and depriving them of the funding to address the epidemic of anti-queer bullying. We cannot be equal as long as too many youth of color remain locked up inside our prison system because they've been victimized by a racist criminal injustice system. We cannot have full equality as long as thousands of queer undocumented immigrants remain locked in detention centers and deported from this country because their only crime was trying to make a living for themselves. We cannot be free and equal as long as freedom fighters in our community, like Bradley Manning, remain locked in prison for exposing the crimes of the military-industrial complex. And we cannot be free and equal as long as our queer sisters and brothers around the world are free and equal. And that includes our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer sisters and brothers in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Palestine, who are living under the bombs and occupations of our government. Our job as a movement is to fight for a world that is accepting and affirming of people all across the gender and sexual spectrum. It's to build a movement that addresses the intersections of race, class, gender, and sexuality that is based on the politics of solidarity. That will not happen. That will not happen by uncritically fawning over politicians who are willing to court our vote and collect our money, but unfortunately for too long have given nothing but rhetoric in return. Our job as a movement is to hold accountable the politicians. Our job as a movement is to demand what we want, what we deserve, not what we are told is realistic. Our job as a movement is to ask the tough questions. We have to ask our supposed allies in the White House and in Congress, why? Why is it that the Obama administration in months can acquire billions of dollars to bail out Wall Street, to fund our military budget, but cannot pass an all-inclusive Employment Non-Discrimination Act in his first 4 years in office? How can politicians claim to quote-unquote support our communities and take our monies when they are the same politicians, even in this city, that are closing down our schools, that are shutting down funding for homeless shelters, that are supporting the bombing of our queer sisters and brothers around the world. Full equality and justice for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people includes marriage equality, but it extends far beyond it as well. We cannot simply wait and depend on politicians, on judges, and lawyers, and CEOs to deliver equality for us. History has never been made by waiting for those at the top of society to deliver it for us. It has been made when people like myself and you come together and organize, when we come together and struggle and fight collectively. That is always how oppressed people have won their rights, their dignity, and justice. Whether it's the civil rights movement, the feminist movement, the labor movement, the anti-war movement. So no matter what the outcome of the Supreme Court ruling is this week, let us keep in mind that our fight is far from over. Regardless of who's sitting in office, the key thing is who's sitting in the streets, who's protesting, and who's organizing. And I look forward to seeing all of you in the streets in the years to come. Thank you.